All right, guys, welcome to this land investing Q&A. We're taking questions straight out of our Discord and answering them here for you guys live. Beginner questions, advanced questions, everything in between. Now, before we do, two important things. If you want to join Leah and change your life and be backed by our six-figure land investing guarantee, go to landinvestor.co/apply. Get on a strategy call with us. We'll show you the nuts and bolts of our strategy, A to Z, the same strategy that over 300 people have plugged into in pretty much the last year. And that's changed hundreds of lives in the process. If you don't believe me, go to the recent wins section inside of our Discord and go see for yourself. Landinvestor.co/apply to talk to the team and I. No sales pitches. We just show you the sauce. Then you get to decide, do you want the sauce or do you not? And I actually just created a free Chrome extension, landinsights.co/Chrome, totally free. It's a market selection Chrome extension, help show pricing information, price per acre, help save time. It works for a bunch of different tools like land.com, Redfin, Zillow, all that stuff. And it's 100% free. It's like a very, 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 very junior version of the tool Land Insights, which we created for pretty much all things marketing. All right, first question on the docket from Femi, an OG Leah member. How do you feel about incentivizing brokers, agents based upon a listing speed of sale while still maximizing exit price? So basically incentivizing them to sell it faster for an extra point. I don't like it. I think it's silly. I don't recommend it. The first thing is really our speed of dispo all happens through market selection. It actually has very little to do with the realtor, right? So if we're doing a good job there with selecting our markets, like our deals are going to rip. They're going to fly off the shelves. The average Land Insights user goes from about 90 days on market to about 17 days on market. It has nothing to do with the realtor. Now, it's one of those things where a bad realtor will really slow down your dispo speed. A good realtor, as long as the marketing's the same, won't really make a big difference from a great realtor. Like I just haven't seen that it's a huge difference on dispo speed. Now, a great realtor might have some inside knowledge or, connections that you can use or tell you about pricing on another deal. I'm not saying that great realtors don't matter, but I have not seen a big difference in the speed of dispo. So long as marketing, the quality of the marketing of the listing remains constant. Now, to me, this is the same issue that I have with title insurance policies. Why am I paying extra for a title insurance policy when I'm trying to ensure the work that the title company should have done in the first place? Same thing here. Why am I incentivizing you when you already have an incentive? The incentive is to get paid a commission, and the added incentive is to get a paid commission sooner rather than later. All humans want to get paid sooner rather than later. So that incentive is already theoretically baked in. And if it's not, and they don't see that, they're a shitty realtor. And so if you need to incentivize a realtor to sell a deal faster, they're a bad realtor. And if that's somehow moving the needle for you, you've got to fix your market selection. You've got to fix your market. Next question. If you could restart your land business, would you still focus on seller finance deals to build cash flow? Or would you go straight for larger deals? 100% the latter. And I'll tell you, there's a real reason as to why we've created and teach this little mid-market strategy inside of Leah. The strategy that we teach and preach, that little sub niche of a sub niche of a sub niche in the land business, I think is the best place to start as a new land investor. And it's exactly where I would start if I was doing it all over again. The time it takes to build meaningful income from owner financing is so slow. It's so slow. You also can't really use JV funding on those deals. So somehow you've got to come up with some money. So my story is actually a little different. What I did is I started by doing small deals and flipping them for cash. I did like no owner financing, almost all cash. Then I did some bigger deals. Then I took that money that I had. Then I built an owner finance portfolio. Then I went back to bigger deals. Okay. There was really no good rhyme or reason. I was just kind of bouncing around trying things. And I'm by no means the best land investor at all. I never claimed to be, but I've pretty much tried every little sub niche in land. Owner finance, wholesaling, double closing, subdividing, entitling, cash flips. I've kind of tried it all. I mean, there's still a lot out there that I haven't tried. But all like the popular strategies, I've tasted the rainbow a bit. And that's why I think we're so good at what we teach inside of Leah, because we've just whittled down exactly what you need and none of what you don't need at the right time, right place. We don't teach you everything at once. We teach you one strategy that works like gangbusters. And that's why we have hundreds of people that scale past six figures in their first year. If I was teaching them how to do owner financing and subdividing and mid-markets, like it's just too much. And so for anyone here watching, do not start with owner financing. Include it on your listings for sure. That's a whole different can of worms. But trying to build a big note portfolio out of the gate just doesn't make sense if you don't have a war chest of capital and if you're trying to get to the highest gross profit number as fast as possible. For example, it's pretty reasonable to get to $250,000 in gross profit your first year with the Leah model. It's very unreasonable to get to $250,000 in cash collected from note terms your first year. It's pretty much impossible. I mean, even if you could hypothetically get to the $20,000 a month, which is still very impressive in 1 year, that probably happens on the 8th month, 9th month, 10th month, 11th month. So before that, you barely collected anything. So if you're lucky, you might make 60, 80, maybe 100 grand your first year building a note portfolio. If you're lucky, and you've got to be a savage. I also think that right now where the market's a little bit slower, there's a lot of inventory for those cheap owner finance deals. So I just think there's way more supply than there are buyers currently. Next question is kind of in the same vein. How would one build a note portfolio that cash flows $250,000 a month consistently? What does the back end of that look like? Well, how would someone do it? They'd be really, really patient. No one's going to build that overnight. You'd follow the exact same owner finance model with some slight tweaks that you'd follow from building one that's at 25K a month. It wouldn't really be that different. It's just going to take a while. It's just a slow game, but it's certainly doable. I've heard of people getting pretty darn close to those numbers. So I know it is possible. There's not very many people that have done it. It is possible. The back end of that looks like a ginormous machine to manage all of those borrowers. People are chronically late, chronically defaulting, chronically asking questions, chronically trying to swap properties, find new properties. So that operationally, it is a complex model. I know of a guy who I think had like 1,000 properties that were on owner finance, and the back end of that operation was crazy. I don't know him personally. It's more like urban legend, and I think he absolutely hated it. So it's a hard model to run. Now, if I wanted the shortest path to go and do that, what I would probably be doing is not doing the small deal owner finance, be buying massive tracts of land, subdividing them, selling each parcel on terms. But you need a war chest of capital to afford to do that. Or I would use private money. I'd go sell all of them on terms. I would sell off enough to pay back my lenders and then keep the remaining, whatever, 40, 50% that I don't need to pay off my lenders. I'm not going to make much on the deal, but I'll build that recurring model. And you can build a pretty big note portfolio pretty quick with those kinds of deals, because those can be $500, $1,000, $1,500 a month. If you're doing the small deal game at $99 a month, the math is ridiculous. You need 2,525 properties that are being borrowed on to make 250 grand a month. I would expect about a 30% default rate every year, at least in the first year. So you're talking about whatever, 750 plus properties defaulting a year. Somehow you've got to sell 750 properties just to stay at that level. And if you want to grow, you got to sell in excess of that just to replenish that default, right? So, I mean, it's just like almost an impossible task if you're talking about doing it in any reasonably quick time frame. Now, if you stay in this business long enough, you'll certainly get there if you're building an owner finance portfolio, right? Do it for 10 years. It's actually pretty reasonable that would happen. But to compress time and do that with small deals is, I think, damn near impossible. I don't even think it's a thing that's worth pursuing, to be totally frank. It's way easier to get to 250K a month flipping deals. It's going to be a little lumpier and you won't have that same consistency, but it's a much easier model to run. Think about the operational complexity of having 2,500 properties with borrowers, where 700 of them a year default, versus a model where you sell 10 properties a month and make 25K a pop. That's really pretty doable and operationally not that complex. So that's just a superior model. Now, again, I think if you wanted to do that, the fastest straight line path would be big subdivisions and then selling all of them on owner finance terms. But the financing gets really complex to acquire those, and there's a knowledge gap and a skill gap there. So long story short, I think pretty much zero people watching this will ever achieve that, just to be totally honest, unless they stay in this business for 10 to 15 or 20 years, or they have like institutional money, big war chest of capital, and really patient investors that can go take down these subdivides and sell them on owner finance terms. Aaron says, what's more important with scaling mailer campaigns, getting more offers out or being more accurate with your pricing? Aaron, great question. Kind of neither, to be honest. I do think we become a lot more lucky the more offers we send out. Okay. So I can't lie, like volume is really the path to growing. Offer accuracy is actually not as important as what I'm about to say. What's more important is data accuracy. It's like, Sumner, what the hell does that mean? Data accuracy is in, let's say you go send out 10,000 property. Let's go say you mail out 10,000 records. Okay. I can guarantee you pretty much one thing off the rip. 50%, maybe 45% of all those pieces of data in those 10,000 records are properties you wouldn't want to buy, or properties where the person would never sell to you. Never sell to you? Churches, BLM land, state land, county land, hospital land, probably never going to sell to you. Waste of data. Next, properties you never buy, landlocked, swamps, properties on the sides of cliffs, weird shaped properties like bowling alleys, like just junk. And so I think it's more important to have accurate data before we think about scaling marketing. And I think that could even come slightly before accurate pricing. Now, accuracy is a gradient, right? So how inaccurate or how accurate are we talking? If we're talking about grossly inaccurate, of course, you've got to get that fixed, right? If we're talking about you're way off on every mailer. But if we're talking about like, hey, you're off by like 10 to 30% each offer, not that big of a deal. It's actually really easy to remedy that by working the leads on the phone. I would rather see you chop your marketing costs in half by scrubbing your data appropriately before thinking about scaling your mailers. So clean data, mailer scale, offer accuracy is kind of what I think about. But again, offer accuracy is kind of like a gradient. So So I'm just assuming you're accurate enough. If you're like, again, woefully inaccurate, too high or too low, okay, that's priority number one, because nothing else really matters. Like your offers are going to fall on deaf ears, whether it's bad data or not, right? But I see a lot of people out there that are sending whatever, 25,000 mailers a month, and literally half their data is bad data. Why are you spending half your marketing budget on things that you never would want to buy or to people that would never want to sell to you? And that is why we created Land Insights, landinsights.co/register. Literally on Land Insights, we have a tool that automates your scrubbing. You upload a data set, it'll start scrubbing the junk that you wouldn't want to buy. There's also kind of a manual review component, and you can tag properties that have structures or weird shapes or subdivided potential or entitlement potential, start tagging your data and filtering it appropriately. So I think data accuracy is really high on my list. The other thing that I think about too is like offer accuracy is a percentage for the entire data set. So line by line, your offer accuracy, it's not like a huge deal to me. Like you could be like 10 to 30% off, right? That's okay for property. But what I see a lot of rookies making is that like they're really accurate, maybe for like 10% of their mailer. They got like, they really focused on getting that right. But the other 90% is like way off the mark. So as a percentage for your entire data set, I want to be just right enough on the majority of our data, even if line by line, we're not pinpoint perfect, if that makes sense. So what we've seen with Land Insights is a 91.62% increase in ROAS on average for users and over a 40% increase in general offer accuracy per data set. So I'm thinking about like the width of your offer accuracy, like being right for most things. Again, just being right enough for most things. So there's a lot to unpack there, and I hope that's helpful. Ben, how long would you run your current marketing playbook into the ground before adding another marketing channel? Well, it's pretty damn simple in my opinion. As soon as you can afford to hire an AM, you can start thinking about stacking on additional marketing channels, IMO, right? So that's why we start with mail and get to the point where mail is bringing in enough revenue, enough leads to bring on an AM. AM frees up your time on the phones. You got a little more bandwidth to be an operator. You start laying the foundation for your next marketing channel, texting, cold calling, RVM, whatever it may be. Probably need to put a butt in the seat to help monitor and run that. And now your AM has more bandwidth than you had. So they can also take on the increased lead flow, which if you don't have an AM, it's like, dude, there's no point to think about adding other marketing channels because you can't even handle more leads, let alone you probably don't even have anyone to facilitate the running of those channels because pretty much every channel requires someone besides mail, and even mail requires. So really to me, it's about building the team that can start to support the other components, namely for starters, sellers. So to me, that's the canary in the coal mine. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to go and start adding new marketing channels. It's not a prerequisite. I mean, like the guy Femi that we were talking about earlier in this video, I think he just does direct mail and they crush it. They do 7 figures through direct mail. So it's not like someone's putting a gun to your head saying you have to get new marketing channels. But if there ever was a trigger, it's probably that trigger, IMO. I also think too, once you have that person in place, it makes sense to start flip-flopping your marketing cadence so we can get the cheaper forms at the front of our list, penetrate that list, and then add some of the more expensive ones towards the back half or the back end. But again, you can only really do that once you have butts in the seats, in my opinion. Danny, what split of seller finance deals and cash deals would you do when operating your business when starting out to build long-term cash flow while maintaining good cash reserves? For example, every 4 deals, you sell 3 cash and 1 seller finance. Danny, good question, but unfortunately, you don't get to decide that. It's totally random. It's whatever the market's willing to bear and whatever you're willing to accept. So I recommend putting owner finance terms on every listing you sell because you'll get crazy owner finance offers. And then if you get one that's not crazy, you could also just sell the owner finance note and get cash back. So every listing should have it. And then some deals you get no owner finance offers. Some deals you get all cash offers or vice versa. And then also some of those owner finance deals will make like a lot of sense. For example, you bought a deal for 40,000, you're selling it for 200,000. Someone's putting down an $80,000 down payment, financing the 120 at 15% interest. It's like, you'd be crazy to sell that note. So don't sell that note. But in the same vein, maybe you have a deal where the math is not as good. And you're like, yeah, I kind of want to free up capital. Go sell that note or wait till a cash sale comes. You know what I mean? So it's less about what you getting to decide. It's really the market will tell you, and then you get to make the decision based off if you like the offer or not. But to even start getting those offers, you need to be facilitating owner finance terms on your listings. Now you don't have to be too strict with them. Just let people know that you're open to them, let them make offers, and then just kind of take it from there, right? What's standard on like more mid-market deals that we teach inside of Leah is like 20% down, 12 to 15% interest, 5 to 7 year term, something like that. Danny, how important do you think it is to find private capital for your deals as opposed to land funder, especially once you get a few deals under your belt? Definitely not the most important thing in the beginning. I wouldn't be stressing about it. I would still be networking, talking to people about what you do, maybe sharing on social. I don't think it's a critical mass. I don't think it's a critical thing out of the gate. Like it'll just kind of naturally happen, especially if you're sharing and you're open about it. But I'm not like rushing to figure that out my first year. So many other problems to solve in your business. Use the JV funding. It's really simple. You don't need to try for it. Yeah, you're going to be paying a little bit more, but there's actually a lot of nice things that come with that with not having debt in your business. Debt gets a little sticky because some deals will flop. It's nice to have the JV there opposed to debt. So not in a rush. I think year 2, 2.5, like you start thinking about it. You have a track record. Hopefully you've been networking. People are interested and then, okay, cool. Makes sense. But I wouldn't be rushing to figure that out. No. Kevin, what is an okay versus good versus great realtor listing should look like, and how to get the damn realtor to make it better / understand expectations? So first thing, Kevin, use our SOPs inside of Leah. We literally have a drone photo SOP that you can give to realtors that shows them exactly what you need. Same thing, we've got listing examples, listing photos examples inside of Leah. Use those, show it to them, right? Really the difference between okay, good, and great is pretty simple. It's actually pretty intuitive. Good quality photos, edited lot lines, drone photos, good listing description, pretty much it. Like, and you know when you look at a good listing. Now, the realtor's job is going to be to take the photos and deal with buyers when they come in. Your job is going to be to edit the photos, get the lot lines on there, and write the listing description. I just have never found a realtor that can do that for you or do a good job. So you do have to handle that, or someone on your team has to handle that if you want great listings. So just go and look at great listings. Look at our listings, look at Landio, look at other people out there. Like, you'll find great listings, and look at the SOPs and make sure you force those on realtors. And when they do a bad job, tell them, yo, this ain't good. This is what I asked for. The 5x5 rule. If you're inside of Leah, you know what I'm talking about, and push back a little bit. And you kind of have to coach them and train them. Doesn't mean they're going to be great right out of the gate. Ben, if I need to find out how much it would cost to run power polls down the road to my site, who would I go about calling to find that out? Energy company has been no help so far. That's a good question. I've never ran power polls. That should definitely be coming from the energy company. I'm kind of shocked that they're saying that it wouldn't. To everything that I know, that would be to them, and you'd be paying them. At least I think. Could be different from county to county. Maybe smaller counties that use like private companies or third parties that help with it. I've never heard of that, but the power company or the energy company would be who it has to be. But understand that every market, like energy and power and water, it's not just one. So maybe you're talking to the wrong one potentially. It's definitely like small little municipalities, and it's like very random. Like, I've been on deals in Joshua Tree, like you go one block over and it's a totally different water and power company and all that jazz. But if they're saying they can't do it, then who would they refer you to? Because you can't be the first guy in this market that's asked to pull power lines. That's an impossibility. So say, okay, so who should I call? Or can I just go and run them myself? You know what I mean? That just seems a bit ridiculous. I think you're either talking to the wrong person or the wrong energy company, which seems unlikely, but I guess it's possible. But in those situations, I just play dumb. Okay, great. You guys, for some reason, the power company doesn't run power lines. Who would run the power lines? See what they say. I bet it's just so you're talking to the wrong person, to be honest. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video Q&A with Sumner. Enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Have a great day.